Hi friends, welcome back. So this is a tweet from Farzad, one of the Tesla stock promoters, and this is what he says. He says, this last payout from X was 3.5 times more than I usually get. Not sure if this one time thing, but if it is going forward, X has just massively increased creator profits. And I'm starting with this is because when we're talking about a Tesla stock, retail investors, the stock market as a whole, and also too what's going on in the economy to understand all this stuff together. People like Afarza don't necessarily have your best interests at heart. Let me play a video from him.
Those subdivisions, I'm predicting that Tesla stock price in about 15 years will be somewhere around $48,893, which from today's date is roughly 47x where we are today. Which is a lot. Which is a lot.
So that was a prediction from Farzad on where Tesla stock is going to go in the future. And I want you to read this. This is Dana. He's probably your typical retail investor that you'll find on social media. And this person says just 14 minutes ago, Elon was my greatest hero. I think most of the amazing people who have left Tesla saw where Elon was going and his fascistic tendencies and decided to bail. Tesla should have a van, a small truck, a small car, and all of them on the road right now. But Elon's hubris and fascism has derailed the company. I have virtually all of my money on Tesla. I had hopes for this revolutionary company until Elon is removed. I think we're screwed. Massive opportunities have already been missed. It's a tragedy. And unfortunately for someone like a Dana, maybe they were watching Farzad or whatever countless Tesla stock promoter channels out there and basically went 100% on this thing. Maybe during the pandemic, during the COVID and the, Dogecoin gambling, essentially, maybe everything was going up and everyone felt like geniuses. But unfortunately, the bubbles have popped and you still have people still trying to pump the bubble back to where it was. It's really a shame out there. And I'm going through this stuff because I want you to understand that many people you'll find on social media, they don't have your best interest at heart. A lot of you figured this out, but some people haven't. And it's not just on social media. It's also the people that you see on Wall Street. And again, please be careful out there. And sort of what I try to do every day on this channel is give you a broader picture of the economy and the market, et cetera. So you sort of arm yourself with knowledge, right? I was thinking about the Tai Lopez like knowledge, right? But it's true though. You do want to. It doesn't mean you have to pay money for it in terms of like the Tai Lopez thing, and buy some scammy class. But if you educate yourself and you start to hang out with a cool community, which I think we have, we can have honest discussions with each other to basically cut through the BS, which you'll see a lot on social media, especially with investing and money and stuff like that. Here's another example. So this is Sawyer Merritt. He's one of the Tesla stock promoters. He tweets out pro Tesla stuff all the time. He says, just had a 5-minute conversation with Kathy Wood. And Kathy Wood, it was interesting because she was silent on the Twitterverse during the event. And she's one of the biggest Tesla pumpers out there. And it's like, why aren't you saying anything? I thought that was kind of strange. But there's Sawyer. He's wearing a SpaceX t-shirt. They met. And you'll see like this kind of stuff. Gene Munster, so he'll go on TV and tell you how awesome Tesla stock is. This is a Wall Street dude. He says, mega AI use cases are getting real. I can't stop thinking about my interactions with Optimus. One of the several jaw droppers was when I asked it to speak Spanish and it didn't miss a beat. For our photo, it picked up my peace sign. The most important takeaway is that this is just the start of a mega AI cases. So there's Munster with the picture of the robot. And if you just take his, tweet at face value, you say, "Oh my God, this robot's awesome." From my understanding, I mean, I looked at some videos of this stuff, and it feels like it's teleoperated to me. The robots, I guess, were talking at the event, but it felt like, to me at least, when I watched the videos, that there was some, person remotely doing a walkie-talkie kind of situation, talking to you right through speakerphone or whatever. And whether Gene Munster really believes the stuff that he tweets, if he's really promoting that this was completely, robot all by itself, moving that way, talking that way. I mean, I just, this is the world that we live in, right? People like willingly tweet out BS, promote BS. Again, this is sort of why we need a community to cut through this stuff. I'll give you another example. And this is sort of why, like, believe your own eyes of what, you see it for yourself. We watch the live stream together. We express our opinions and you can make your own. But I'm trying to warn you, just be careful out there because you'll get people like Dan Ives. And I'll tell you what I mean. So at least what Dan Ives said. Dan Ives was talking about the event yesterday. He says, we strongly disagree with the notion that last night was a disappointment, as we would argue the opposite, seeing Cybercab with our own eyes and massive improvements in Optimus, which we interacted with throughout the evening. And there he is wearing a basically a pink suit. He does that on TV all the time, sometimes teal suit. Tesla stock is down 17% on the year. The market as a whole didn't like it. I think it went down like 8% or something like that on the day. And we watched it crash in the live stream as they're announcing stuff. But I want you to understand the same way that the Farzad dude tells you, Tesla stock's going to be $48,000, or, Sawyer's hanging out with Kathy Wood. But for these people, they're just honestly they're just selfish. Think about themselves. Like, Farzad's bragging, "Hey guys, I get paid 3.5 times more on Twitter. I'm so awesome now, and Twitter's owned by Elon." Here's Dan Ives. Like, this is a tweet 20 hours ago. Great to be a Tesla Robotaxi day at Warner Brothers Studio in LA. And honestly, like, when I look at this guy, he's wearing a clown suit. Like how else could you interpret that? He's got like these flower pants, flower shirt, pink jacket. He's got crazy shoes and green hat. And if you're going to like Mardi Gras, you're going to a party, fine. But I don't know. For me personally, if I want to, watch someone that's like serious about investing in my money, I don't know. That's just not for me. And I'll let you guys decide if you think, and to be fair, I guess the clothes don't matter, but I mean, I'm just putting it all together as a whole package when you're basically wearing a clown suit and saying clownish stuff with like, oh, we disagree with the rest of the market. We think the cyber cap is awesome. But this is where, guys, you need to learn to evaluate stuff with your own eyes, right? So Dan Ives, I guess with his own eyes, he said that this cap thing is awesome. And this is sort of why we look at this stuff together. And I can't emphasize enough why you need a strong community. I'm just happy to hang out with you guys all the time to talk about these things, because like sometimes I feel like we're in a world of, we'll just say idiocracy or crazy land, because I just saw Idiocracy again recently, and it just reminded me like, yeah, we're heading that direction. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a classic, and it's just basically in the future we're getting kind of more dumbed down. I feel like that's the case, but not all of us are morons. Anyway, let's keep going. So you have to ask yourself, like, does this robotaxi stuff seem real? What do you think about this bus thing? Right? That's why we looked at it together. I already expressed my opinions on this stuff. I'm just showing you, like, everywhere you look in this day and age, people are out to like basically pump you up with hypes and dreams. But I think the key really thing here is like something like the Farzad, where then they give you hopes and dreams, sell you hopes and dreams. But then they brag about like, oh yeah, on social media I've got 3.5 more than I normally get. Elon's busy at work getting his Tesla stock promoters going. And here's the thing, guys. So this is the stuff that I want you to think about and to arm yourself with knowledge and understanding how the world works. And it's just basic numbers here. So Tesla stock is grossly overvalued. And when you say that, when you're new to the market, you're like, what do you mean overvalued? Like Tesla stock, according to Farzad, is going to go to 48,000 a share, or Kathy Wood told me it's going to go to 40,000 or whatever stupid number, right? You see the guy in the pink suit say that, no, don't believe everyone else. I saw the cab and it was awesome. I just want to show you numbers. So these are your PE ratios. It's just your basic metric. What's the price of stock compared to how much a company earns? Tesla's PE ratios are like 100. Compared to other car companies, it's like 14 or 16. So that means it's like 8 times overvalued. If you want to look at, you can look at either non-GAAP or GAAP. That's your accounting methods. You can compare it. So Ford, say GAAP is 124 compared to other car companies, 18. So again, it's well overvalued. If you want to look at PEG, that's the price to earnings growth. There's just different ways to think about this. You want your PEG to be around 1. Other car companies, it's like 0.76, so under 1 or a little bit over 1. Teslas are like 63 and 8, so it's just like so overvalued. And also I want to show you guys this. Something that you'll hear on social media all the time is like, oh, institutions are loading up on Tesla stock, etc. So like, you can tweet out whatever, but I just show you guys the numbers on this stuff. Again, you use these just real numbers. I just looked it up right now today for this video to show you the most updated numbers, and you can compare for yourself. So is it true that institutions are buying, say, Tesla stock? Well, institutional ownership is at 45% on Tesla. As compared to other companies. Institutional ownership, right? So the big institutions buy 56% of Ford Motor. Compared to Apple institutional ownership is 61. Again, Tesla is at 45, so it's going to be lower than a lot of these other companies. This is another meme stock. So institutions, which is Palantir, institutions have 41%. So this actually did go up a little bit. I can see it right there. I think it's probably because they joined the S&P 500. And then compare it to like a very, very safe stock. This would be a Warren Buffett stock. Institutional ownership is 72%. So we're talking about a couple different topics here. We're talking about what are institutions actually buying, who's selling you the hype and why, right? Someone like a Kathy Wood, she gets money from managing your money. I can't remember what their fees are. Maybe it's like 0.85% or 1%. It's something like that. Just from holding your money, she makes money regardless of stock goes up or down. It doesn't matter. She's just a marketing machine. But that's how this game is played. And, sort of what I like to go through is like show you guys what's going on in the market and can we believe the hype coming in from Tesla that, oh my God, everyone's going to buy this stuff. So according to JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, they just had their earnings report. I want to read these things because when you're talking about someone like Elon Musk saying, hey, everyone wants a buddy robot, everyone's going to, buy these, robo van stuff. Well, who are the people going to buy it? How many are these people? So this is why we look at this stuff. So this is coming from the banks. The banks say here, consumers had reduced spending on things such as travel and entertainment, but changes were, quote, in the realm of what is normal rather than indicative of the actual unusual levels of stress in the consumer, right? So this is sort of why the bank stocks are up a little bit. There's, hey, we're doing better than expectations, and maybe consumers aren't really hurting. We got to read through all the details of this out. That's why we look at it. Wells Fargo is saying, quote, we continue to look for changes in consumer health, but we do not see them. Spending continues on credit cards and debit cards. It's slowing, but still healthy. And this is something that I've been wondering about for a while, is like, how long can we keep this going? Because I know there's a divide in the market where some people are doing all right, but some people aren't. In my personal opinion, just from numbers and what I can hear what people are saying, it feels like the gap between rich and poor is just going to get bigger. The gap between people who have assets and those don't, be it stocks, real estate, etc. The gap is going to be bigger and bigger. And this is sort of why, if you want to be successful in today's world, it's just how it is. If you want to build wealth, you got to start essentially getting assets. Why? Because the way that they're increasing, and if you don't have them, like for example, for you guys you probably know this. If say you bought a house, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever, like you've seen the value of that home go up like nuts. The same way we've seen the value of stocks go up like nuts, and then that means that people have these things like their wealth is like so much bigger now than the people that don't. Here's another, and then going over to what the banks are saying, it says the strain on lower income Americans from higher prices did not appear to have spread to other parts of the economy. And that's coming from the Wells chief financial officer. So what they're trying to say here is like people with the lower parts of the economy, right, that they're struggling because inflation really, really hurts people on the lower ends. But we haven't seen that go to the higher ends yet. And so I think it's a real shame because then I saw this, and hopefully this makes sense what we're talking about here. Boeing just announced that they're going to be firing 17,000 people. And again, I just feel like, unfortunately, we're just having this bigger divide between rich and poor. And I want you guys to do well. And so this is sort of why you want to be thinking about, okay, how can I manage my money in a way that is it like, going all in on a hype stock, meme stock? Because I think what happens to a lot of people, because there's a lot of people struggling, right? And yeah, some people are doing totally fine. They have assets, stuff like that. But if you don't, you think, okay, I'm going to play the market like the lottery. That's my only way to get out of my situation. And it's unfortunate that people feel this way. And then they just like, oh, well, every time I go to, social media, everyone's telling me that Tesla stock's the most awesomest in the world. And then I, YOLO on that. And this is what happens to people like Dana. And I understand, if people get upset when I tell you guys the news of this stuff, because it's you don't hear it on other channels, because basically they don't tell you. They just say, here's my price prediction, it's going to go to the moon, and that's all they honestly say. It's just like, just tell you a bunch of nonsense. This is the kind of stuff I want you to know. So I tried my best to educate you. So for example, in the situation of Tesla, Elon's promising you, robotaxis next year or whatever. It's always next year. But you read this kind of headline, just read the headline. It says, in the past week, 4 of Elon Musk's direct reports have announced their exits from Tesla. There's a lot of people leaving. This is even more people than I even thought. Before, like, I knew that the chief information technology officer left, and then they had like a couple, it was like a director and a manager of like vehicle programs left. And then it's even more people that I even realized. It's like 3 people here, Dings and Van Imp, and then there's also Rohan. These are all of the, it says here, Tesla's vice president of public policy and business development, Rohan Patel, right? So like their policy people are leaving. So if you have your vehicle people leaving, and you have your policy people leaving, like who's left? And when you look at Tesla's, leadership page, it's just Elon and a couple other names. Tom Ju, which is the head of Asia operations, he'll probably take over at least the rumor is like he would take over the company if Elon left. And then because Tom is Chinese and a Chinese national, not just Chinese ethnicity, but Chinese passport holder national. So then it would just definitely, my opinion, would be become a Chinese company. And then he's got another person, it's like the CFO. So there's only 3 people listed in their leadership, and now they're trying to promote you this kind of stuff. But how are you going to get this through regulations when you don't even have a policy team? So that's kind of stuff I like to show you guys. And then I also want to talk about just what's the consumer doing. So when companies come out and report earnings, that's what you're looking for. You're looking at what are their predictions for their customers / consumers, because they know, they'll know the spending habits, etc. And also sort of like, are you making money or not? And then as we look at the economy as a whole, because you're thinking about, okay, where's the best place to put my money? That's the idea. You're putting your money in places that you think is going to grow, and essentially, making estimates about the future. Now, in terms of stocks as a whole, your safest bet is just buy some sort of S&P 500 index fund, so it tracks the whole market. You don't have to worry about, in picking individual stocks. But I understand some people totally want to invest in individual companies, and I have no problem with that, as long as you're educated and informed in these things in a realistic way. So, for example, let me read the headline and we'll go through this one. This says, U.S. consumer spending is increasingly driven by richer households, right? And that is the same thing that you're hearing from the banks. So this is like what are consumers thinking, et cetera? How are they feeling? What's their sentiment? And you're getting kind of the same numbers. So that's why I show you guys this stuff. So I think some people are doing okay. This is the wealth effect. So if your houses are go up in value, the stocks are go up in value, you feel like, oh, I'm richer. I'm doing all right. I'm not worried. And so this is a chart that shows you like sort of the growth in spending among different groups. So just basically people have more money, they're continuing to spend. So we haven't seen the crash totally yet in spending because still some consumers are doing all right. Let me read the description of this thing. It's kind of interesting. It says here, this thing that's talking about the wealth effect. One possible driver of the divergence is the higher income households are enjoying wealth effect from gains in housing and stock markets, and also, quote, received more interest in investment income during periods of higher interest rates, all providing a stimulus for sustained level of spending. Now, the concern would be, well, there's a couple things. One would be if the consumers on the lower end completely fall off, right? Be it too many layoffs, and then you have this group of people who are super, super struggling. And then eventually that will bleed over into, I think, the upper ends. And then, whether or not we go into where everyone stops spending, who knows? That's what's going on in China right now. But could the U.S. avoid that? I mean, this is sort of why we watch this whole thing together. And I can't predict that 100% in the future, but I can definitely see people are struggling. I can see that. One thing about the consumer sentiment, though, according to recent charts, which is kind of interesting, is they were saying right here, and I'll read it for you guys. It says, still respondents welcome the Federal Reserve's decision to last month to start lowering borrowing costs. Their views of buying conditions for durable goods such as cars and major appliances edged up to a 4-month high. So people feel a little bit better about cars and appliances, right? But looking at home buying conditions, consumer concerns about high interest rates fell to the lowest in 15 months, but a majority still see borrowing costs as too high, suggesting further easing is necessary for bolster sales. If you understand too, we've been following this, one of the biggest parts of inflation right now is basically your housing costs, and those are still elevated. And I'm concerned about, again, I just talked to you guys on the channel, I'm concerned about the people in the lower ranks. And also too, I think there's a lot of people still who are way, way over leveraged, and that would be across all ranks. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. Does it mean everything's going to crash? Warren Buffett keeps selling stock. I'm telling you, this, I didn't even know this. Like, I just saw this. This was a couple days ago. I knew he was selling Apple and Bank of America, but I didn't know he kept selling Bank of America. Like every time this is just October 10th. You can see the date. So now it's under 10%. And so now he doesn't have to disclose it publicly what he's doing with Bank of America stock. So that's what's going on. You have on one side, you have some companies trying to pump up, all this, basically, vaporware products, and you have people on social media egging you on. You got Warren Buffett selling, and then from the banks and sort of consumer sentiment, say, I think it was the University of Michigan survey, there are still people who are doing good. So it's not like everyone's struggling. It's just that I think there's a large group of people who are struggling, and then the question is, how long will it spread? So, you have to do what makes sense for you with managing your money. And I just try to sort of give you an overall whole picture on this thing. So if you want to do stocks, index funds is the safest. If you want to hold some cash, it's not crazy to have an emergency fund, because when again, I always talk about jobs. When I see people are losing their jobs, this is like 10% at Boeing. or I see strikes at, the dock workers or the longshoremen, I should say. I know there are people struggling there. And I know that. So I always acknowledge that. And I just want you guys to be informed and to, how can I say, plan for a future that is sustainable, and don't necessarily expect like bubbles to go up forever, because if you watch social media, that's what they kind of preach to you, is like, oh, you just throw your money and hopes in some dude named Elon Musk and you're all going to be rich. And essentially the logic is, well, Elon's the richest person in the world, and so I should give him more money because he's going to make me rich. That's the logic. To me, it doesn't add up, but that's just me. So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on these things, and I'll catch you on the next video.